A mysterious death, missing organs, and a teenage boy found upside down inside a high school gym mat. The official story says it was an accident. Others believe it was murder. This is the case of Kendrick Johnson. And as I researched what happened to Kendrick, I found myself caught between conflicting reports, emotional claims, and a lot of unanswered questions. Some people are absolutely certain he was murdered. Others believe it was a tragic accident. And even today, more than a decade later, the case is still fiercely debated. There is no clear, universally accepted answer. What we can do is explore what's known, what's disputed, and where the facts seems to end. Kendrick Johnson was a 17-year-old high school student living in Valdosta, Georgia. He was soft-spoken, athletic, and always wore a smile. His friends called him KJ, and his family remembers him as a kind, determined young man. But on January 10th, 2013, everything changed. Kendrick went to Lowndes High School like any normal day, but he never returned home. That evening, after multiple attempts to contact him, his family reported him missing. Next morning, on January 11th, Kendrick's body was found upside down inside a rolled-up gym mat, tucked away in the school's old gym. What happened after Kendrick was found is still widely debated. But what we do know is that he was upside down inside a gym mat. There was a pool of blood beneath him. A sweater and shoes were found nearby, and blood was spotted on the wall. This is where the story began to unravel. From the very beginning, Kendrick's family and supporters felt the investigation was rushed or incomplete. They believed the scene was mishandled. The crucial evidence, like nearby shoes and a sweatshirt, wasn't collected. They also say Kendrick's body was rolled out of the mat, then placed back inside for photographs, potentially disturbing the original scene. Coroner Bill Watson, who arrived roughly 5 hours after Kendrick was found, has said publicly that the scene was compromised. According to him, the delay violated proper protocol and made it harder to determine what truly happened. Officials, however, dispute this. They state that police followed protocol, interviewed witnesses, and pursued all leads. Their conclusion was that Kendrick's death was a tragic accident. They had gotten stuck while reaching for a shoe. They say there was no evidence of foul play and that the delay in calling the coroner was due to the time it took to access Kendrick's body. And one of the most controversial aspects of this case is the school's security footage. The family and their supporters argue that the tapes appear to be tampered with. They point to gaps in the recordings and ask why the cameras inside the old gym didn't capture key moments, even though cameras outside the gym showed students walking in during the same time frame. There's no footage of anyone discovering Kendrick's body, but there is footage of him being rolled out in a body bag. They also claim there are FBI reports, some redacted, about the security tapes. According to the Finding Kendrick Johnson documentary, a larger FBI report exists with a spreadsheet describing every frame of the footage, yet this information hasn't been made public. The sheriff's office counters this, saying the cameras worked as intended. They explain that the system is motion activated, meaning the cameras only record when triggered. In their view, there is nothing suspicious about the missing footage. Kendrick's death was then officially ruled an accident by the state medical examiner. The first autopsy reported no signs of blunt force trauma, concluding that Kendrick died of positional asphyxia. Essentially, he couldn't breathe due to being trapped upside down in the mat. The family strongly disagrees. They hired an independent pathologist for second and third autopsies. Both found hemorrhaging in Kendrick's neck and trauma to his chest. The pathologist also noted that Kendrick's lungs were at the normal weight. He concluded Kendrick died from blunt force trauma, not asphyxia, and went as far as to say he believed Kendrick was already dead before being placed inside the mat. And one of the most disturbing discoveries came when the family's independent autopsy revealed that all of Kendrick's internal organs, from his head to his pelvis, were missing. In their place was crumbled newspaper. The funeral home admitted to this in court, saying the organs were removed and discarded during the state autopsy due to decomposition. To the family, this only added fuel to the belief that a cover-up had taken place. The opening of the gym mat where Kendrick was found is measured around 14 inches across. Kendrick's shoulders were 19 inches wide. And to the family and many supporters, this makes the accident explanation impossible. Law enforcement, however, maintains that Kendrick could have angled his body and slipped in while trying to retrieve a shoe. They believe he accidentally got stuck and suffocated. A horrible tragedy, but not a crime. In the documentary, Kendrick's father says he tried to squeeze into one of the mats himself to test if it was possible. And as shown in a photo he posted on Facebook, he only managed to fit his head inside. One of Kendrick's friends also explained that while many students left their shoes behind the mats, no one climbed on top of them because they were about 6 feet tall. Instead, students would move or tilt the mats to retrieve their shoes. This raises a lingering question though. Why would Kendrick slide into a mat taller than himself with no clear way to get out? Later on, the family publicly named 2 students they believed were involved. These students, both sons of an FBI agent, were reportedly the only ones with legal representation during questioning. According to the documentary, the father allegedly spoke to witnesses in ways that made them feel threatened. Officials dispute this. Both students were cleared after investigators confirmed their alibis, and their home was searched, and no evidence linked them to Kendrick's death. The FBI agent has denied any wrongdoing as well. The documentary also highlights that the U.S. attorney who initially reviewed the case resigned unexpectedly, moving to a law firm in Atlanta. Kendrick's case was then transferred to Ohio. Reportedly, 7 judges recused themselves during legal proceedings related to Kendrick's case. The Department of Justice, or the DOJ, ultimately concluded there wasn't enough evidence to prove Kendrick was murdered. However, according to the family, DOJ representatives once told them that the shoe found beneath Kendrick's body had been planted there, but they couldn't prove who was responsible. The documentary also claims that the DOJ found evidence the FBI agent had obstructed parts of the investigation, but instead of arresting him, they allegedly pushed for his resignation. Through all of this, Kendrick's family has never stopped fighting for what they believe is right. They have held rallies, marched, and even faced arrests while demanding answers. They've shared difficult photos of Kendrick to ensure his story is never forgotten. Kendrick's father, who was very close with his son, has become one of the loudest voices calling for justice. Together with family and supporters, they continue to push for answers, no matter how many doors have been closed to them. To this day, the case remains divided between 2 narratives. Law enforcement says Kendrick's death was a tragic accident, caused by becoming stuck while reaching for a shoe. The family says Kendrick was murdered, and that powerful forces have been covering it up ever since. What do you think happened to Kendrick Johnson? Share your thoughts respectfully in the comments, and if you have any information regarding this case, don't hesitate to contact the authorities. Thank you for hanging out with the Lone Kiwi today. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and always remember to stay kind.